Suppose x1, x2, x3 and so on up to x2n is a permutation of the first 2n natural numbers, where n is a natural number. We will call such a permutation good if at least one pair of consecutive numbers in the permutation has a difference of n. Permutations that are not good are bad. Show that for any given n, there are more good permutations than bad. The question deals with the sizes of sets. We need to show that the size of the set of good permutations is larger than the size of the set of bad permutations. Whenever we talk about the sizes of sets, we should immediately think about the injection and bijection principles. Why? Let's quickly look at these two principles first. Suppose f is a function that maps elements of set A to elements of set B. That is, f of lowercase a equals lowercase b, where lowercase a is an element of set A and lowercase b is an element of set B. Such a function is injective if f of a1 is not equal to f of a2 when a1 is not equal to a2. The injection principle then states that if there exists an injective function from a finite set A to a finite set B, the size of set A is smaller than or equal to the size of set B. That is obvious, right? Because if A1 is different from A2, then f of A1 is different from f of A2, which means that every AI has a corresponding unique BI, which means that set B has at least as many elements as set A. It could also have more elements. And that's what the injection principle states. Now, such a function is said to be surjective. A function which maps elements of set A to set elements of set B is said to be surjective if for every element of B there exists a corresponding element of A, such that f of A equals B. Right? So for every element of set B, there is an element in set A such that when you apply the function to that element, you get B. So by the same argument, you can say that if there exists a surjective function from a finite set A to a finite set B, the size of set B is smaller than or equal to the size of set A. Because it's the same argument, right? For every element of B, there is at least one element of A. And so A has at least as many elements as B. Right? Now combining these two observations, we can say that if there exists a function f that maps elements of set A to elements of set B such that f is both injective and surjective, then we can say there is a bijection from A to B. Right? So if both these cases are true, the function f is both injective as well as surjective. If it is injective, then size of A is smaller than or equal to the size of B. If it is surjective, then size of B is smaller than or equal to size of A. And so if it is both injective and surjective, size of A must be equal to the size of B. And that's what the bijection principle states. The bijection principle states that if there exists a bijective function from a finite set A to a finite set B, the size of set A is equal to the size of set B. These terms might seem a little confusing, but then if you think about it, these are quite easy principles to understand. So getting back to our problem, we need to show that the size of the set of good permutations is larger than the size of the set of bad permutations. We'll call the two sets G and B. This is what we need to show. So how do we do that? We can of course use our injection, bijection, surjection principles, right? If we can show that there is an injection from B to G, then we can show that the size of B is lesser than or equal to the size of G. Right? And then if we can show that there is no bijection from B to G, then that means size of B is not equal to the size of G. Thus, if you can show that there is an injection from B to G but there is no bijection from B to G, then size of B must be less than size of G. Right? So try to understand the approach here. We are basically using the principles that we saw earlier to compare the sizes of a couple of sets. Okay, so in this case we need to show that there is an injection but there is no bijection. So how do you show there is an injection? We'll have to figure out some function which maps the elements of B to G in such a way that for different elements of B you get different elements of G. Okay, so B is the set of bad permutations and G is the set of good permutations. Right, so we need a function which maps a bad permutation into a good permutation. How can we do that? A bad permutation does not have any consecutive numbers with a difference of n. Right, and a good permutation has at least one pair of consecutive numbers which has a difference of n. So it should be quite straightforward to convert a bad permutation into a good permutation, right? All you need to do is change the position of one element. For example, let's say n is 3, which means a permutation is that of the first 2 into 3, 6 natural numbers. So this is one such permutation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this permutation is bad because there is no pair of consecutive integers with a difference of 3. All consecutive integers have a difference of 1 here. So how do you convert this into a good permutation? Let's just follow a simple algorithm. Choose the first element and move it next to that number with which it has a difference of 3. Now every number here will have only one corresponding number with a difference of 3. Think about it a bit. So for all numbers from 1 to n, the corresponding number with which it has a difference of 3 is basically the original number plus 3. So for 1 it is 1 plus 3, 4. For 2 it is 2 plus 3, 5. For 3 it's 3 plus 3, 6, and so on. And for all numbers n plus 1 to 2n, in this case 4, 5, 6, the corresponding number with which it has a difference of 3 is the original number minus 3. So for 4 the corresponding number is 1, 5 it is 2, 6 it's 3. So point is, for every number there is only one other corresponding number with which it has a difference of n. So what we will do is, we will pick the first number in the bad permutation and move it to a position next to the number with which it has a difference of 3. So in this example we will move 1 to the position between 3 and 4. what happens then is you get 2, 3, 1, 4, 5, 6, which is a good permutation because 1 and 4 have a difference of 3. So that's what our function will do to convert a bad permutation to a good permutation. Now note that the, the resultant good permutation that you get has only one pair of consecutive numbers with a difference of 3. Right? Because we have moved only the number 1, and 1 and 4 have a difference of 3, and so 1 cannot have a difference of 3 with any other number. We saw that earlier. Every number has got only one other corresponding number with which it has a difference of 3. Okay, so this is our function. Now how do you show that this function is injective? We can do that by showing that if f of b1 is equal to f of b2, then b1 must be equal to b2. Let f of b1 be p1, p2, p3, p4, and f of b2 be q1, q2, q3, q4, and f of b1 is equal to f of b2, then p1 is equal to q1, p2 is equal to q2, and so on. Now both these have exactly one pair of consecutive numbers with a difference of n, right? Because these are good permutations that resulted by applying the function f on a bad permutation. So they must have only one pair of consecutive numbers which have a difference of n. So let's say p2, p3 are those two numbers, and so q2, q3 must be the two numbers in f of b2. Now if this is the resulting good permutation and p2, p3 is the pair of numbers with a difference of 3 or n, then p2 must be the number which got shifted by this function f. p2 should have originally been in the first position, and then f shifted it to its current position here. And so b1 would be p2, p1, p3, p4. Similarly, b2 must be q2, q1, q3, q4. Since pi is equal to qi, b1 must be equal to b2. So it's quite straightforward. If you know that f of b1 is equal to f of b2, then you can be sure that b1 is equal to b2. And therefore, f is injective, which means that the size of b is lesser than or equal to size of g. Now when n is equal to 1, there are only two numbers, right? 1 and 2. And 1 and 2 have only two permutations, 1, 2 and 2, 1. And in both cases, we have good permutations because the difference between the two numbers is 1. And so when n is equal to 1, then size of b is less than size of g. F of bi only returns permutations that have exactly one pair of consecutive numbers with a difference of n, right? But when n is larger than 1, it's quite easy to see that g would consist of permutations which have more than one pair of consecutive numbers with a difference of n. For example, suppose n is 2, then 1, 3, 2, 4 is a good permutation which has two pairs of consecutive numbers, each with a difference of 2. And therefore set G has elements which are not returned by the function f. Right? G has all the elements that function f returns. It also has other elements that function f cannot return. And therefore the size of set G must be larger than the size of set B. And that's what we wanted to show.